Welcome everyone for this challenge information webinar for our second AI Transatlantic Hackathon, Sustainable Supply Chain DeepHack. It's my pleasure to be hosting you. I am Anne, and I'll be handling production on this hackathon, meaning that if you do participate, you'll see a whole lot of me. I'll be hosting most of the events and the pre-event happenings and helping onboard all of our participants. What are we going to tackle today? Today, we are going to talk with our representative from our different partner companies that are GABA, which has as the initiation of this hackathon project, and also with EIT Digital, which is the second initiating company for this hackathon. And then finally, we'll also have Intel and Luxonis, who are the other partners of this hackathon, and without which it would not be possible. Once we are going through the presentations of our different partners, we will tackle more practicalities about the hackathon. So how to register, how to form a team, how to find participants to join your team if you're alone, what kind of topics you might want to tackle, how is the hackathon going to be handled. This type of more technical down-to-earth details will be tackled. Very well. So, and then of course, at the end, we will tackle some next steps. So we are sure that you know everything that is needed to do as actions to be taken after the webinar. And also we will have, like I said at the beginning, some Q&A time, so you can ask your questions if some things were unclear, etc. But without further ado, let's get to it with our first speaker for this webinar, which is Laura and Edward from GABA.
Greetings and welcome to our Transatlantic AI Hackathon Challenge Information Session. Today we will go over everything you need to join the Sustainable Supply Chain DeepHack. You will hear about the purpose of this specific challenge, the logistics, as well as the cool giveaways, prizes, and extensive resources assembled to support the teams. I'm Laura Ann Edwards, the Transatlantic AI Hackathon Project Lead for the German-American Business Association. The German-American Business Association, known as GABA for short, is a professional network based in California with a strong connection to Germany that provides powerful networking and impact events, fostering a vibrant community. GABA has been operating at the forefront of transatlantic trends, business, and technology for over 2 decades. You can go to gaba-network.org to learn more. We have again partnered with EIT Digital for this second of 3 Transatlantic AI Hackathons, a program supported by the Transatlantic Program of the Federal Republic of Germany, which in turn is funded by the European Recovery Program of the Federal Ministry of Economics and Energy. Teams participating in this hackathon have a requirement to have at least 1 German team member and 1 team member from the United States. The rest of the team can come from anywhere. This configuration offers unique transatlantic opportunities to network, exchange ideas, and collaborate on real-world challenges using cutting-edge technologies. Here's a quick timeline of the Sustainable Supply Chain DeepHack. After today's challenge information session, you will have an overview of the challenge and the technologies generously provided by our platinum sponsors, Intel and Luxonis. They will share a series of technical training videos which are available to anyone. Participation in the hackathon is not required to access them. Intel also makes freely available a downloadable AI platform which anyone can use, and Luxonis is giving all selected participants a state-of-the-art spatial camera to keep. During the hackathon itself, the teams are invited but in no way required to use these technologies provided. April 3rd is the deadline to apply. On April 4th, there will be a matchmaking workshop to help all the teams achieve the mandated makeup of at least one German and one American. On April 8th, the team selections will be announced. April 19th, you will have a chance to meet some of the mentors. And then the hackathon itself takes place on April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, with the winners announced at the end of the third day. Throughout the presentations today, we welcome you to put questions in the chat, as well as to state your name, where you are from, and whether you are looking to be connected with team members. I'd like to turn this over now to EIT Digital to tell you a whole lot more about the Sustainable Supply Chain DeepHack. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Laura, for these words. And I do advise everyone to follow along with Laura's advice and to state your names, interests in the hackathon for teammates, for instance, as this will come helpful along the way and might help you make already connections for the hackathon. Let's now move on to our other partner, which is EIT Digital, in the person of Mirko Tadic, who is representing EIT Digital today and has also some words for you.
And hello from my side as well. My name is Mirko Tadic, and I'm leading risk venture and DeepHack programs at EIT Digital. Let me tell you a few words about the EIT Digital at first. This is an organization created and supported by the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, or the EIT. We have a very unique pan-European multi-stakeholder open innovation ecosystem consisting of top European corporations, SMEs, startups, universities, and research institutes, which is a platform where students, researchers, engineers, business developers, and investors address the needs of digital entrepreneurship. We invest across strategic areas to accelerate the market uptake and scaling of research-based digital technologies, or the deep tech, and focusing on Europe's key societal challenges in digitization: digital tech, digital cities, digital industry, digital well-being, and digital finance. The EIT Digital has also developed a pan-European education program, providing graduates with the balanced curricula of both professional and business skills in cooperation with partnering universities. Since its launch, EIT Digital has equipped around 3,000 students with skills to innovate and become entrepreneurs, and we have supported around 500 startups. The DeepHack program started in 2018 and has been growing success in providing open innovation events, leveraging AI digital ecosystem of the organization. It is a part of our stand-up, startup, scale-up approach and the very first point in entrepreneurial support funnel. We have covered a variety of topics, from 3D printing to traffic congestion to creating application stores for POS terminals, for online banking software, and urban logistics and food supply chains. DeepHack hackathons focus on deep tech, digital innovation, and they are a way to explore opportunities for companies to quickly solve challenges and to tap into talent pool of highly qualified and motivated tech experts. For participants, this gives the possibility to test their skills, apply to relevant and current issues, and to get in touch with potential employers, establish a relationship that often does not end with the hackathon. It's also an opportunity to test themselves and to test their own approach and to see the viability of furthering on with the idea towards something maybe even more sustainable. This DeepHack is the second event in series of transatlantic AI hackathons that we organize in cooperation with German-American Business Association from Silicon Valley. We are excited to collaborate with GABA on this project, which will focus on using edge AI, the technique of processing AI algorithms on the hardware device locally in order to rethink supply chains and make them more resilient against crisis and reduce the impact of greenhouse gases. Supply chain or logistics accounts for more than a quarter of greenhouse gas emissions in both EU and US. The transport sector, therefore, plays an essential role in the climate crisis. At the same time, energy efficiency helps to bring down costs, especially as CO2 prices continue to rise. While some transport companies are aiming at carbon neutrality, and the trendsetters are already striving to be carbon positive. In addition to understanding of climate risks forms the basis for resilient transport and supply chains. On the other hand, computing on the edge enables devices far away from a cloud and on-premises servers to collect and analyze the massive amount of information that comes from many diverse pieces of a supply chain. Collecting all of that data in real time and processing it through automated artificial intelligence supported application should give the edge, pun intended, to companies for solutions with near perfect insights, overview, and execution on supply chain. We are excited to be working with GABA on organizing this event, and we look forward to discovering the digital solution that the teams will develop using edge AI powered solutions to make supply chain more sustainable and more resilient. It's also opportunity for the teams and for participants to not just innovate and try to improve on this topic, but also to be in touch and to discuss their idea with many knowledgeable mentors and advisors and ask them questions, approach them directly, and get the feedback on the ideas and innovation, and in a way accelerate the learning curve over the weekend that we are planning to execute this on. So I wish you good luck, and I hope that your ideas will help you understand better your capabilities and the opportunities that your idea can give you, but also maybe to win some prizes, or maybe just to use this as a first step to start your entrepreneurial journey.
Thank you, Mirko, for these words of encouragement. Indeed, we welcome all types of teams and projects, from very beginners to very professional. And now I have the chance to welcome to represent Intel, Jason.
This year's Transatlantic AI Hackathon, a supply chain DeepHack. I'm Jay Burris, an academic program manager at Intel for the OpenVINO Toolkit, as well as Intel's DevCloud. I'm excited to have you here and learn more about the technologies that we're bringing to you.
I'd also like to welcome our co-sponsor in this Transatlantic AI Hackathon, Luxonis, and my partner, Eric Kokolsch. Supply chain and logistics involve virtually every type of business on the planet. Starting with raw materials sent to suppliers, suppliers supply those materials to factories that produce all the products that we use. Those products are sent through distribution to retail networks where customers purchase them. So supply chains touch everybody on the planet. There are many supply chain and logistics use cases that use AI-based computer vision and will continue to adopt in cargo, public transit, and heavy equipment. So let's look at a few examples, starting with fleet supply chain logistics management. This is a growing market, almost 10 billion US dollars projected commercial fleet market size by 2026 at a growth rate of almost 40% CAGR. That's huge. And almost 7 billion US dollars projected for the market size for cloud-based vehicle fleets. But digitalization is evolving the fleets. Today's fleets and their telematics require cameras, AI, and central compute. And the key drivers are artificial intelligence that provide AI analytics insights with evolving technology advancements and greater e-commerce capabilities. Our next example where supply chains can take advantage of AI computer vision is with package measurement, matching customer needs with integrated warehouse solutions. Computer vision can provide automatic parcel height and width measurements, as well as 3D rendering of total storage space. Those benefits provide accurate height, width, length measurements with one photo, point-and-click applications, automatic measurements of incoming stock, and increases delivery throughput. Our third supply chain example is warehouse robotics and autonomous forklifts. The benefits mean efficient operations and safe navigation, as well as fast deployment. AI-based computer vision can help automatic pathway tracking and object and people avoidance to increase safety and recognition, as well as automate warehouses, inventory management, and supply chain and logistics. Intel and Luxonis are collaborating to bring you 3 exciting AI-capable technologies. First off, with the OpenVINO toolkit from Intel. OpenVINO stands for Open Visual Inference Neural Network Optimization, providing high-performance deep learning inference, streamlined development ease of use, and a write-once-deploy-anywhere model so that you can develop AI applications and deploy them to a variety of Intel architectures. Couple that with Intel's DevCloud, a developer cloud environment, free to access, 120 days of access and you can extend, always has the latest version of OpenVINO installed, includes active learning through Jupyter Notebook tutorials, and provides you up to 50 gigabytes of private storage space for your code and your data sets. And Luxonis is bringing you the Depth AI platform with the OakD Lite device, powered by the Intel Movidius MyriadX VPU. So why is this device so unique from Luxonis? Well, it's a combination of 3 available technologies: spatial sensing, AI neural inference, and computer vision for feature tracking, motion estimation, edge detection, and many other capabilities. No platform existed that had all 5 capabilities of being embedded, performant, spatial, AI, and computer vision until now with the Depth AI OakD Lite. Existing solutions were composed of highly discrete components that drew higher power, were bulky form factors, and bespoke designs. But Luxonis has consolidated many of these features into one platform with depth sensor, camera, and AI processor with the OakD Lite, which you can easily use to plug into a single board computer or your own laptop for development. There's an easy-to-use joint workflow between Intel's and Luxonis' technologies. Start with GitHub and the Intel Open Model Zoo with over 200 Intel and public pre-trained models for things such as object detection and recognition, human pose estimation, action recognition, text detection, and more. You can use the Intel DevCloud and you can download those models directly to there and you can do your development in the DevCloud. OpenVINO Toolkit is already installed in DevCloud. You can learn from the Jupyter Notebooks inside the DevCloud, upload models, datasets and code, develop your inference engine input blob, which is what is required to go into the Depth AI OakD Lite, and you can also download to your host device. You download your inference engine blob to your laptop, which is your developer device, and then that's the input into the Depth AI OakD Lite target device. We're also offering additional trainings offered through On Demand in the Transatlantic AI Hackathon website. We'll do a deep dive on the Intel distribution of OpenVINO Toolkit and the Intel Open Model Zoo, as well as Intel DevCloud. And also, if you're looking for an additional way to learn more, Intel has an Edge AI certification program. All the courses are free to take. They're enabled through videos and access to the Intel DevCloud and Jupyter Notebook experiences. There's a $99 fee for acquiring the badge upon certification, but it's not required. You'll experience several use cases for computer vision, such as detecting safety gear, preventing retail losses, or identifying manufacturing defects. And you'll develop with your own AI solution portfolio, drawing on libraries and APIs from TensorFlow and PyTorch and others. There's also a bit of rewards involved, so there's prizes redeemable through chips, and it's a great resume builder. We're so excited that you're joining us, and we look forward to your creative solutions. Thank you.
To present Luxonis and the technology they are providing, we have the chance to have with us Eric Cordell.
Hello everyone, my name is Eric. I'm a spatial AI engineer at Luxonis, and today I'll talk about Depth AI platform and Oak Delight that we at Luxonis have developed. As you probably already know, every hackathon participant will receive an Oak Delight spatial AI camera. First, let's talk a bit about the hardware specifications of the Oak Delight, and later we will talk about what we can do with these hardware resources. We have launched Oak Delight last year in September through a successful Kickstarter campaign, and we raised a bit above $1 million. It has integrated Intel Nvidia's Myriad vision processing unit, VPU in short, which does the AI, CV encoding and everything else. In the middle, there's a 13 megapixel color camera, which can stream at 30 FPS. There's a stereo camera pair with 480p resolution, which provides above 300,000 depth points. It perceives depth from 20 centimeters and up to 15 meters. You can run any AI model on the device itself, even a custom architecture one. It can run AI vision tests like object detection, semantic segmentation, classification, object recognition, landmark detection, and so on. It can also perform various computer vision tasks like warp and dewarp, resizing, cropping, edge detection, feature tracking, and so on. Oak Delight also supports video encoding of H.264, H.265, and JPEG formats.
How is the hackathon going
Oak
to
cameras
be
use Depth AI
this type
API
of more
for developing apps,
down-to-earth,
more specifically pipelines, and for two-way communication between the host computer and the Oak camera. Since this is a transatlantic AI hackathon, let's look at some types of neural inferencing that you can do on the camera. There are also a bunch of pre-trained models that you can choose from Open Model Zoom, so that's from OpenVINO, or from Depth AI Model Zoom.
And also we will have, like
so first we have object detection. Most popular here are YOLO and MobileNet models.
Etc.
We have face and facial landmark detection models, emotion recognition, age and gender estimation, head pose estimation, face identification, and so on. You can do vehicle detection and vehicle recognition and license plate recognition. You can also do semantic segmentation, and we will cover that topic a bit more later. You can also do optical character recognition, so OCR in short. Also pose estimation. And we have mentioned that Oak Delight is a spatial AI camera. But what actually is spatial AI? So spatial AI allows robots or computers to perceive the world as human can, what objects or features are and where they are in physical world. Depth AI platform leverages spatial AI by fusing AI capabilities with depth perception on the Oak camera itself. On the video, the robotic hand knows where in space the strawberry is, so it knows how to move and where to move in order to pick it up. We have three approaches to spatial AI that we will present in the following slides. So first there is the spatial object detection. So here's a perfect example of what you can do when you fuse a pre-trained pedestrian detection model with DepthMap. So the Oak camera provides spatial coordinates of each detected person, so you can calculate the distance between these people for social distancing use case. Next up we have spatial landmarks detection. As mentioned above, you can also fuse landmark detections with DepthMap to get 3D coordinates of all landmarks. In this case, either human pose or hand tracking. On the video below, you can also see spatial coordinates of the hand landmark. You can also run semantic depth, which actually runs the semantic segmentation model and fuses the results to provide class for each depth point. Semantic depth is particularly useful in autonomous robotic navigation because the semantic segmentation can detect unknown objects. And on the bottom video, we have a deep lab model running on the OK camera at almost 30 FPS. It is then cropping the depth map based on the semantic segmentation, which results in the middle window. For example, this could be used to estimate the surface, or with a few tricks, even a volume of the desired object, in this case, me. And the last approach to the spatial AI is the stereo neural inferencing. In this mode, the neural inference, so landmark detection, is run both on the left and right camera, and then it calculates the disparity between the landmarks. So this is the red line in the middle window. With disparity, we can calculate depth, so it provides the 3D location of the landmarks. This approach is a lot more accurate for small features that otherwise wouldn't have valid depth, like screw holes or vehicle headlights. Let's check the Depth AI API, which is the pipeline builder, to develop a highly customizable applications that will get executed on the camera itself. As mentioned before, we have C++ and Python API. We'll show a few pipeline demos so you get an idea of what the Depth AI is capable of. So first, here's the list of capabilities supported by the pipeline builder. So you can use neural inferencing of any OpenVINO model. You have object tracking, frame encoding, lossless digital zooming, edge detection, feature tracking, support for April tags, warping and dewarping, stereo depth perception, and also support for running Python scripts on the camera itself, which allows for a very complex pipelines to be run completely on the edge. Besides using the Python and C++, you could also develop your app, so the pipeline, with a drag and drop pipeline builder. It's also a great way to visualize how the pipeline works. So you have multiple nodes, so which is like some functionality, and then you have links between them. This was actually developed by a community member, Asher VO, well, that's his GitHub username. This is another pipeline example, in this case a pose estimation. So you can see that the pipeline, in the pipeline we have a few nodes like color camera node, image manipulation node, a few neural network nodes, and then the script node in the middle, which manages the whole business logic. Here's another demo of flexibility of the pipeline builder. So on the left we have the data flow representation of the pipeline. First we have the face detection model. We crop the output frame and feed it both to the landmark detection model and pose estimation models. These two models actually run in parallel, and the output of these models is then used together with gaze estimation model, and as a result we get the final gaze trajectories and gaze coordinates. And just to give you an idea, this whole lab was coded in less than 400 lines of Python code. Let's go a bit more into the technical part of the challenge as well. So on the Transatlantic AI Hackathon page, there are a few examples of the challenges that you can solve. I will go into technical details of 3 of these examples, just so you get an idea of how to approach them. A great example was detecting goods and their volume, which allows for a more accurate container loading, which in turn leads to lower greenhouse gas emissions. This project was actually started by one of our community members. It uses AI to detect boxes and the depth for point cloud generation. It then uses Open3D for detecting planes to filter out only the box point cloud, so it removes the floor. Then there are a number of approaches that you can use to calculate the dimensions, which is where the project was left at. There are also a number of interesting technical challenges here, like filtering of depth and point cloud manipulation, 3D geometry, and so on. Detecting and recognizing trucks before docking can reduce loading and unloading times by a few minutes, which reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Here is a video of a demo of license plate detection and recognition. It first detects license plates, and then it uses license plate recognition model. The model actually only works for Chinese license plates, as that was the data set that it was trained on. So a challenge here would be to expand this to work also for EU or USA license plates, or actually to use an OCR model. So here's a quality control of raw materials. So delivery of quality and undamaged materials can also result in lower return and discard quota, which reduces greenhouse gas emissions. And on the image, there's an example of quality control of cocoa pods. Some other quality control examples here would be to detect food freshness, so for fruit and vegetables, to detect dents in an enclosure, so for example on a fridge, to detect fraying of fabric, for example on clothes, and to detect if screws are fully tightened or not. Let's take a look at some of the other Oak camera models as well. So this is actually the business model of Luxonis, that we sell hardware, so the Oak cameras. And besides the Oak Delight, we also have a bunch of other Oak cameras. For example, Oak PoE, which uses PoE, so power over Ethernet, for power and communication. We have Oak IoT, which has integrated ESP32 microprocessor. We have Oak with integrated Raspberry Pi compute module. We have Oak FFC, to which you can attach a number of different camera sensors via flexible cable. We have Oak D and Oak One, and many more models. Thank you for your time. This concludes my presentation, and feel free to ask any potential questions.
Topic of the hackathon in a very practical way. So if we just want to sum up a bit what the challenge is about, the challenge is about using AI, HAI, to solve the problems related to sustainable supply chain, meaning mostly trying to find ways to reduce mostly greenhouse gas effects and greenhouse gas emissions in logistics. So any ways you can do that is an eligible way to participate in this hackathon. Let's cover a couple of practicalities now, words of encouragement, how they join, welcome all types of teams and projects from very beginners in very professional timeline. And now I have, so today is March 21st to present webinar Intel. Then as mentioned earlier by Laura Ann, the registration deadline is at midnight or 11:59 CET on April 3rd CET timeline. So if you are living in the US, know that the equivalent is at 3 p.m. PT timeline. Then we will follow with the matchmaking workshop to give you most chances to have an eligible team, meaning in team fitting the requirements of having one member that is a US long-term resident or citizen and German long-term resident or citizen. So if you're looking for members, or if you don't really have an ID and would like to join the team, you'll be welcome to join that matchmaking workshop. We'll give you a couple more extra days to finish finalizing your teams and your IDs. And the selection will take place, the final selection will take place later, around April 9th. We will message you if your team is approved, and likewise if your team is not approved. Then we will move on with a little event that we call Meet the Mentors, where you will be able to present your idea to the mentors that will partake in the hackathon and get some preliminary feedback and advice on how to go through with the idea, if you need to do some extra preliminary research, anything really. So this is to encourage you to start working ahead of the hackathon. You are very much allowed to do so, especially if it's to do some research about the potential use case of your ID, about the end users of your ID, etc., to make sure it's not only relevant regarding greenhouse gas reductions and sustainability, but also it is relevant to the audience you're targeting. And finally, the culmination point is the hackathon days, the sprint, where you will get high quality support from mentors. For instance, Eric will be one of our mentors on the hackathon, and we will make it the hackathon online through Zoom. So you will have a whole bunch of live happenings where you will get extra information and support. And we will also make it the communication and support through Slack. So if you haven't joined the Slack channel yet, please do so. The link is available on the hackathon webpage. How to find your dream team? Well, first of all, everyone that wants to participate in a hackathon needs to register as an individual registrants on the webpage. You can type a little description of who you are, your skills and your interests and ideas. So it's easier for you to find like-minded people. Then you can, once you have registered, check other people's profiles and IDs that we call submissions to see if, well, that's something you will be interested in working on, and then you can join that team. Or if you have your own ID, then you can submit it, and other people that are interested in it might just contact you. So there is ways that you can do that through the platform. We will also encourage matchmaking and contacts and team making through Slack. So keep an eye on it also. There is a matchmaking channel. We will start getting that active a bit closer to the deadline, so more people have time to join and register their interest for the hackathon. And then finally, of course, participate in matchmaking workshop activities. That will be the best way to find a team. Let's go through a little demonstration on how to register the platform, submit an ID, etc. So it's clearer and more visual. Let me pretend I'm joining the hackathon. So I don't know if some of you have already registered, then that information might be a bit redundant. I apologize if that's the case. But so you can go to supply chain, sustainable supply chain DeepHack on ultrahack.org website. You will have all the information that we already covered in way more details about the challenge, potential project IDs, the requirements on the teams. We will announce mentors and judges throughout the pre-hack period. So you will be even able to look up what cool people you will have as mentors and judges, and whose support you will be able to benefit from, and the people you'll be able to learn from. Some background information about the hackathon and our partner, who are the reason why we are able to have this hackathon. Then on the right-hand side, you have the summary of the important information, meaning the registration deadline and all the things like that. The webinar right now is the link to our meeting. It will be replaced with the recording of this meeting, so you can watch it again and people who couldn't join can have access to it. Then you have the matchmaking activities, etc. The prizes section, which is very important. And then finally, you can join us, others, by submitting and registering here. So on that section, you can put your name, etc., and register. If you have already registered, which is my case, then you can edit your profile to put more information. So let's look at it. So that's how it looks when you try to register. So you can put your name, last name, that's mandatory. We need your address and your actual address because we will be shipping to you the Oak devices. So it needs to be your actual address. We don't want to ship your gifted camera somewhere you won't be able to receive it and use it for the hackathon if you wish to do so. If you want, you can put a picture, it's always nice. A bit of information about yourself, the topics you are the most proficient at, so it can help other people browse through profiles and find the skills they might need. A bit of an introduction, develop around your skills and your interest and who you are, because this is also a human event. So maybe you just both like surf, and that's good enough of a reason to make a team together, and then later down the road, find out what you're going to work on. If you have already participated in our previous transaction, AI DeepHack, meaning the health and safety monitoring DeepHack, then please toggle that on. It's always nice to see that we have some repeating participants. If you are a long-term US resident or a citizen, please let us know so we know if you fulfill that criteria. Same thing for people that might be German citizens or long-term residents of Germany. So we know you fulfill that criteria and that your team is fully eligible or that something might be missing. Same thing, it's very important that you put your actual phone number in the phone section with your country code. So phone number in international format. It's also for the shipping of the devices. So please be mindful about this. All this data that is private, phone numbers and addresses, won't be public. It will only be on the back end available for us to share with the shipping company. So you have no worries to have about it. So please do provide the accurate information. Then basic demographic / gender, and you can join, or in my case, since I've already joined, I can update. Great. And then after that, you can add a submission, meaning propose a project ID. So let's look at it. So when you want to try to propose a project ID, this is the page you're taking to. You need to give it a name and a short description. So like, what's the main objective of your ID? What's the main problem you're trying to tackle? Quite short. And then if you want to add some extra details about it, for instance, well, you're already a startup working on that topic. It's always nice for people that might want to join your team to know. Or if it's just a rough idea you just had for this hackathon, so you can put some extra details thanks to the tags. It helps people browse the submissions to find teams to join. Built with is where you can add the technology you're planning on using. This is a very interesting section also for people to browse if they have the required skills to use the technology you're planning on using. No one has to use the technology provided by Intel and Luxonis, but it's strongly advised since we'll have mentoring for it. And you can add like any other type of information, like URL to your website if you want to share more information with us for the selection with some more detailed mock-up, for instance, of your idea solution. You can provide us a downloadable link, and this won't be public. It will just be for the organizers to look at. If you want to provide more details for the public eye, then you can put it in that big box and type a longer description of your project ID. I strongly advise you to indeed provide more details than just the problem and the way roughly you're thinking about tackling it, because teams are going to be selected on project ID. So if we can't assess the quality of your project ID, you might just miss the boat and not be selected for this hackathon. So that's roughly how you do it. Of course, if you want to add team members because you already know people that have registered to the hackathon, then you can just type their name here. So for instance, if I want to invite my colleague Taras to join my team, I just tap tab and then I click the little plus here, and Taras will be added to my team once I have updated. Every time you do changes to your profile and to your submission, make sure you update, or the changes won't be saved and people won't know you have, for instance, accepted their invitation, etc. So that's how you submit an ID and register. Then let's check how you browse. So you can click on Participants tab on the main hackathon page, and there you will have the short presentation of all the participants, and you can decide to message them. So for instance, I want Taras, my colleague, to join my team. I can message him here. I type my message. Hi, join me. And then you can send. It will send the message to the presentation and all the great examples of potential projects. And then if you're not looking for additional teammates, but you are looking for a team, I advise you to browse the submissions where you can read the short version of people's IDs. If you want more details, you can click on the name of the submission and get access to not only the 2 first sentences, but the whole descriptive paragraph, but not the downloadables. Like I explained earlier, these are private and just for us organizers. And because I'm an administrator, I can delete or approve, but you as a participant will have a button that says request to join. And in the same way, you can message the people from that team and tell them, well, do you want to join? I kind of want to join. I like the project. I advise you to talk about the skills and what you could give to that team if you like their IT, so they are more interested in having you join. I would also advise you to highlight if you fulfill the German or the US member criteria, as teams will be highly interested in fulfilling these. Here we go. That's how you handle the platform, register, and participate in the hackathon. Just these couple quick steps and little admin to do. Let's go back to our presentation for a couple more information, and we will call it a day. Of course, you will be able to ask questions at the end. Let's not forget about that. So, the ingredients of a winning team, not only a good team. Well, we advise teams to be between 3 and 5 members. We will probably not accept teams of more than 5 members, so try to stay under that. And that's how the workload is the best divided, 3 to 5. Think about your common interest in the challenge, common interest for a solution to the challenge, complementary skill set. It doesn't mean you have to have the same skill set. Quite the opposite. Diversity is the spice of life and also the way to win hackathon. So maybe you want to have someone that has a bit more of a business mind, and maybe you want to have some very hard coding people, and maybe you want to have someone that has been more experienced of the logistic industry. So if you have different backgrounds, also culturally, because things related to logistics are not always handled the same way across the globe, it's always nice to have them on board. So keep diversity in mind when forming your team. And of course, if you already know people, if they're your colleagues, people from your network, of course, knowing each other and having common interests outside of the hackathon helps to foster good team collaboration. So also something you might want to keep in mind and try to recruit people in your network and your co-workers and your schoolmates, etc. The must on the teams, like we said, is have at least one member being a long-term resident or a citizen of Germany, and same thing with the USA. Some specificities about this hackathon. Like we said, you are all approved participants, so all members of selected teams will get a Luxonis OG camera shipped to their house, and they can use it for solving this challenge, and they get to keep it and do some very fun things with it after the hackathon. This hackathon is transatlantic, meaning it's handled on 2 different time zones. So the way we will go about it is that CET in Europe and PT in the US are the 2 reference time zones. So the schedule is built around these 2 time zones. So teams will be asked to choose to be or on the EU time zone or on the US time zone for all their mandatory checkpoints and checkups and mentoring sessions, etc. So you will have to find the time zone that fits best for your team and organize around that. But the advantage of this system is also that your team can work around the clock if you have participants both in the US and in the EU. So you can just relay. That's very convenient. In terms of deliverables, teams will have to deliver a 5-minute recorded pitch of their solution. This includes any demo. Also, you will have to share, at least momentarily for the moment where we judge in the hackathon on the last day, we'll have to share your code for your solution. So the jury members can at least have a look at it and review it. This will be organized through GitHub. So if you don't know how to share your code privately, if you don't want to make it fully public on GitHub, I advise you to already take a look at it, but we will have more information for you about it if you're unfamiliar with it, but I kind of doubt you will be. I think you're all old, quite code savvy agents used to using GitHub repository. Other specificities, the winning prize for the team is a share of a $10,000 cash pool. There is no preset requirements on the amount of winning teams. There might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't know yet. That's up to the jury to decide. And the $10,000 cash prize will be shared amongst the winners. Finally, the judging process. As mentioned earlier, first the teams will be evaluated on their pitch. Then judges will score teams based on the pitch and will review the code of the best scored teams that we'll call finalists. So probably the top 4 to 6 first teams will undergo code review, but everyone has to share their code just in case they might be finalists. And then once judges have overlooked code and checked for originality, uniqueness, and especially freshness. Is it something you guys have been working on for 3 years or only for the past couple of days or week is what judges will be looking at. If you've been working on your solution for longer, it's okay, but make sure to highlight which part you've been struggling with and you've been developing specifically on this hackathon thanks to the support of the mentors, because that's what we want to judge you on. It's the progress made during the hackathon. So only the part you've developed for the hackathon should be the part you're being judged on, not everything you've developed in the past. And then after that, our judges will deliberate and pick the winners out of the best scored teams that were satisfying on the freshness, uniqueness, and originality of the code criteria. Our next steps, well, first, make sure you sign up and register on the website to the hackathon and start looking for teammates and submitting your ID, which will make it easier. Deadline is April 3rd. Selection will be announced on April 9th. And if you have any struggles or extra questions, you can always contact me and production manager or my colleague Jana, who is project manager on this hackathon. This concludes my little presentation and the presentation of my partners and of this challenge. Now it's time for Q&A. So if you have a question, feel free to open the microphone, even the camera. It'd be nice to see some faces if you're comfortable with being recorded, and we can cover them. I see that Eric has already taken it upon himself to answer some questions in the chat. Thanks a lot for that, Eric. I'm just going to read the question out loud so everyone will see. So Chago asked if what would be the license of the project code in GitHub repo, proprietary or blah, blah, blah. And Eric rightfully answered that we encourage the projects to include open source license, but that's not required. Do you have any other question? It can be related to the challenge, the technical aspect, the organization. Once again, I want to remind you that both OpenVINO and Luxonis technology will be presented to you in some upcoming technical webinars. They will be pre-recorded and available for everyone to watch and enjoy and learn from. They will be accessible on the webpage of the challenge as links. They will be hosted on YouTube. So once these things are available, we will also notify you on Slack if you have joined Slack. So it's always better to be there to get the fresh information and get notified every time there is new things popping about the hackathon. Do you have any other questions? Well, if everything is clear, thank you to our partners for making this hackathon possible, for participating in this webinar. Thank you, participants, for being here. We hope to see you register real soon and to have you amongst the selected teams by the end of this process. I wish you a very good day or rest of the day, depending on your time zone. And thank you for being there. Goodbye, everyone.